Hi, I'm Shelly with Pastry Shells, and today I'm going to show you how to make a naked cake. This cake here is the finished result, and it is a semi-naked cake, but during the process of making this one, I also show you how to make a full naked cake. So I hope you enjoy, and please feel free to ask any questions in the comments below. Thanks so much! So first we're going to go through the supplies you'll need for this project. You're going to need a round cake board in the size of your cake. And then you're going to also need scissors because you're going to cut your cake board. You'll need a knife to level off your cake, and I like to use a long serrated knife. You're going to need a small spatula or a large spatula. That's really your preference. And then depending on the type of design that you're going to want, you will want a scraper. So this scraper has a perfect 90-degree angle, while there's some that have a curved edge right here. The curved edge doesn't make it as sharp. So you want it to have a complete 90-degree angle right here. And this I just got at Home Depot. It's actually I think for like plaster. And then I do 3 tiers of cake for this, and then also your frosting. So to start, we're going to take the cake board and we're going to trim it just a little bit. I'll show you in a second how much I'm really trimming off. But the reason why you do this is because cakes are typically smaller than the cake board, and we would usually bring the frosting out to the cake board, but this time we kind of don't want the cake board to show. So we kind of want it to tuck nicely under the cake. So you can see, I don't know, maybe that's 1/4 of an inch that I cut off all the way around. And so now we're done with that piece. So you're going to put your cake board on, and you're going to always start your cake board by putting a little bit of frosting down on it so that your cake sticks. So now I'm going to set that aside. So the next step is to level your cake. So this is just my cake out of the oven. The most important thing about when you bake these cakes is that they are the same height and you bake them for the same amount of time. In order to do that, you're going to need a scale. You're going to want the grams that you put in each cake pan to be the same, so then they bake evenly, they become the same height and everything. And make sure as well they are cooking in the same type of cake pan. So not a dark cake pan versus a light one. You want them both light or both dark. So then the outside color is the same on each cake. So how I level a cake is I find the edge where I can level it all off, and I kind of put my knife in just a little bit, and then I just saw and turn. But I keep my knife in the same position and just saw and turn until I go all the way around, which I've done. You can see it's all the way around, and then I start going all the way through, following the line that I already made. So then I'm done with this top, and then I'm also done with this layer. All right, I'm going to show you it close up. So I'm going to put my cake on the board, find where I think that I want to level it at. I'm going to go in just a little bit, and then I'm going to saw while I turn, keeping my knife essentially in the same place, just sawing in the same place. And then once I'm all the way through, I'm going to slice across. Now it's a level cake. And it's okay if you get a little piece coming off the side. You can see here, a little piece came off the side. I'll just make it look a little more rustic. All right, and one more time with the last layer. Just go in a little bit and then saw while turning, and then go all the way through. There's the 3 layers. All right, now that all of our cakes are level, we're gonna stack and fill the cake. So here's the cake board with the icing on it. Put it on your turntable. You're gonna take the bottom tier of your cake and place it on. And make sure the board, I mean at this point you can turn it over and make sure the board is centered along the bottom and that it's not sticking out anywhere. Super noticeable. And then now we're gonna fill it. Now this one is just getting filled with a regular icing. A lot of people will put their icing or their filling in a piping bag and they'll pipe it around, but I'm gonna show you how to do it without it. I like this way better. I'm able to make it flatter to keep it level for the whole time. So I just take a scoop and try not to fling icing across the room. And just put a good amount, and then I spread it around with my offset spatula. and spread it out to the edge. Since there's going to be icing on the outside, it doesn't matter if you go slightly outside of the cake. And you're just going to make sure that you get it as level as possible. And so that's that layer. And now we're going to take the next layer and we're going to flip it upside down, making sure the crumbs are not falling on the cake. And then you're going to set it and make sure you center it with the other one. And the reason why is then you get less crumbs coming up when you put the next layer of frosting down. All right, and now I'm going to show you it close up. I'm going to get a bunch of frosting and get it down. I might need a little more than that. And then just spread it. You'll see my cake moves a little bit. This is because I am on a smaller cake, which means the cakes aren't going to be as heavy. If the larger you get, so a 9-inch cake, 10-inch cake, those cakes aren't going to wobble as much because they are heavier, so they will be able to kind of support themselves. And I'm going to show you a trick on how to help decorate a cake that is wobbly. So there I took off a little bit of excess. It just looked like too much. So now I'm just turning, leveling, and you can see the frosting is going past the cake, which is perfectly fine for the look we are going to be going for. So that looks pretty level. And then we're going to, once again, take the next layer, flip it over, and center it right on top. And push down just a little bit. All right, and that is how you're going to stack and fill your cake. All right, now that your cake is stacked and filled, it's now going to be time to decorate the cake. Now this, like I was saying earlier, is a smaller cake. It's a 6-inch cake. A lot of times you'll be making a 9-inch, a 10-inch, but this is a smaller cake. This is going to be a smash cake for a cute little 1-year-old. So the problem with smash cakes or 6-inch cakes is you can see they wobble really, really easily because these cakes are lighter than, let's say, a 9-inch cake. So a way to solve that is so that you can hold on to it, is to stick a skewer down the center and push it through the cardboard so it is secure. So then you can kind of hold the cake still through the entire cake as you turn. So now you don't have to do this with the larger cake though, by the way. Okay, so now we're gonna show you how to ice for a naked cake. So I always start on the sides and I'm just taking a little bit of icing. And I'm also using icing that I did over when I was filling. And I'm just gonna do a rough coat around the outside. Hopefully, can you see this? It's hard for me to work this direction, but hopefully you can see I'm just taking the icing that I overfilled, grabbing a little extra if I need it, and just giving a rough, very rough coating to this cake. And kind of trying to cover any bit of cake that I can. And since we have the skewer, we're definitely going to do the top last, but usually I do the top last anyway for this kind of cake. Sometimes your cake can get a little skewed, that's okay. Just kind of push it back. All right, so now the fun part. Now you're just going to scrape away what you just put on. And depending on how much cake you want to show is how much you're going to scrape away. So essentially, this one wants to be pretty naked. So we're going to pretty much take it all off. But the reason why we put it on in the first place is to fill in any holes. You remember earlier there was a hole in one of my tiers on the side. So this will kind of give it, a little artistic vibe. And I'm using my skewer to kind of keep it in place. And then just scrape away until you get your desired look. So right here needs more. You can see my cake's moving, so I'm going to try and hold the skewer and scrape. I wish I was a little taller. Just kind of keep scraping. If you feel like an area was scraped too much, you can always add the icing back. But just scrape. And then another thing you need to also do is bring your icing all the way down to the bottom. You can see all the way down. All right, so you'll see I'm just going to scrape away the icing I don't want. But make sure, like I said, bring the icing to the bottom so that there's not a gap at the very bottom of your cake where the cake board is. So kind of bring the icing down to that level and just keep scraping until you get your desired look. Now, this cake in particular, I actually want to have more icing on it than less. But I wanted to show, a lot of you guys have been asking about how to make it the naked cake that I have been posting on Instagram. So that's how you do it. But this time, my order is for someone that wants more icing. I mean, who doesn't love icing, right? So I'm just gonna put it back on and show you how to do it, you know, where you still got icing on it, but you got a little bit of nakedness showing. All right, and so now this is where I'm gonna use this tool. All right, and so I'm gonna make sure I put it flat on the I'm gonna make sure I put it flat on the turntable, and then I'm going to go into the cake, and then I'm just gonna turn. And so see, it took off a lot of icing, but it still left some, which is nice, and it keeps it an even amount. So let's see if I can do this so you guys can see it. So I'm gonna go in till I hit cake and turn. Okay, so let me do it all the way around, and then you can see. And I'll probably turn it maybe once or twice around, and then I'll look and see where I need to add icing. So the top of it usually for me needs more icing, so I'm going to add some. So it all looks pretty even, but you still get a lot of peaks of that cake coming through, which is nice. Right, so just spin around. Okay, and I actually want the bottom of this to have maybe a little more icing. So then I just will scrape. All right, now we're gonna do the top, so we can now take our skewer out. We don't need that. And we're going to put some icing on top. Not too much. And spread it around. We're gonna keep spreading it around, just like we did for the layers when we were stacking the cake. Okay, and now I'm going to take this piece again, come in and just scrape away. Okay, and now take the spatula and scrape the edges away. So you'll bring it in like that. Okay. So there's like a lip, and I'm just bringing the lips in. And now I'm just gonna go in and anywhere that kind of needs a little bit more smoothing out, which I don't really see where it looks pretty good. All right, so I use a smaller spatula. That's just my preference. I used it for this whole time. Sometimes I'll use my larger spatula, but to transfer cake, definitely use your larger spatula. So you're gonna take your large spatula and you're gonna make sure you go under that board that we have made. It's okay if some icing's left over. And then I'm sliding it off the board and sticking I'm gonna slide it off of the turntable and put my fingers on the board, but still use the spatula as my second support. Carry it over, place it on your cake pan or cake stand. And bring it up just a little bit. And there you go. perfect semi-naked cake, or if you use the first version, then you have a super naked cake. And we're done.